All right, welcome everybody to a post-game edition of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard here. Giants-Cardinals, what a comeback! What a game by Daniel Jones. First, need to tell you guys about BetOnline. Football is back. BetOnline is your number one information source for all your sports wagering info, with all the up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on stats, news, and odds. From week one all the way to the college football playoff and Super Bowl, BetOnline gives you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And where I start, everybody, what's going on? Hunter, Antonio, Doug, our regulars are here. We have more fans at the start of a live chat, I believe, than we've had in a little while. It's going to keep building, and that is because Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll, and the New York Giants saved the season with the second half of the ages, tying the franchise record for the Giants' biggest comeback ever at 21 points down. And want to answer your questions and also tell you everything that I heard in the Giants locker room here in Glendale, Arizona at State Farm Stadium. What's up, Hunter? What's up, Antonio? Yeah, the Jordan Ronan bomb. Yeah, he walked right by me, and I was going to do it out in the press box here, this recording. And then I realized I think I was being too loud and everybody could hear me. So I ducked into a side office. Yeah, I said, there's a report of an ankle sprain. Listen, Antonio, I was in the locker room looking at Saquon Barkley with a swollen ankle, standing there at the locker. I don't need somebody to tell me that his ankle is sprained if he gets x-rays. I mean, we don't know exactly what the final result is because he has to get MRIs. He has to get those x-rays confirmed and evaluated. So I don't consider any kind of report out there right now to be official. I'm the boots on the ground here, standing there as Saquon Barkley is being driven down the hallway to get the x-ray. I can tell you I was standing there right next to him. He was down. He looked disappointed. He was despondent. He did not conduct a post-game interview. Sad to see considering the situation Barkley is in, right? Coming off an offseason where he tried to secure a long-term contract. Of course, it seemed like there was a deal on the table earlier in the negotiations that his agent and he should have accepted that they did not. Eventually, he comes back on a one-year contract trying to make his case and make the most of it. But you look at this now and you see where Saquon is, and you can understand why he looks so disappointed because even though he helped the Giants win this game and was a huge part of it, it looks like, standing there next to him, it looks like he definitely won't play against the San Francisco 49ers. And then you have to wonder how long he could be out or how long it would affect him, right? Because it's not just about whether he misses games. It's also about, is he compromised? Is he able to still be the player that he knows he can be? And of course, at the running back position, with the injury history of the position as running backs get older and their usage increases, a guy like Saquon is a huge part of the team, and so he's getting the ball a lot, but also has been injured frequently throughout his career. Also just comes with the position in general often. All right, let's get to your questions. Thibodeau, 0 tackles, 0 sacks. Clayton, let me tell you, number 5 has not shown up yet. He hit Josh Dobbs on kind of a second effort pass rush in the third quarter, I believe. And it was the first time that I had seen Kayvon Thibodeau in this game or really in these first 2 games. So obviously disappointed. All right, let's go to Townsend. Townsend says, sorry, trying to get away from some noise here as other people trying to do some cool post-game work here, talking to people, doing some recordings on the radio. All right, so Townsend says, great work. Do you think they take more shots to Jalen Hyatt given the success he had today? Townsend, I think absolutely. And frankly, this brings up an interesting point. I think that Brian Daboll was more involved in the play calling in the second half. He denied it. The Giants head coach, I asked him directly, I said, did you call plays in the second half? And Daboll said no. He said Mike Kafka called a good second half, and that he's always involved. But did you see Dable with that play sheet? Did you see how he was covering his mouth as he was talking, almost like he was calling the plays into Daniel Jones? I definitely thought that it looked like the Giants head coach took matters into his own hands coming out of halftime. And frankly, I wouldn't blame him, because the way they were playing, he had to press whatever button he needed to in order to make a change. Jalen Hyatt, that deep shot was the play of the game, the play that unlocked the Giants, that gave him some confidence. Speed kills. We saw that in training camp. We're seeing it here live in a game. Now, obviously, the Giants winning this game by the skin of their teeth against one of the worst teams in the NFL. You have to come back and then show it again and again and again against much better teams when you play the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, etc. But Townsend, to your point, I think Jalen Hyatt clearly is a guy who is making plays to put himself on the field. You can't keep speed like that off the field. Jalen Hyatt is a player who has some traits and qualities that other players on the Giants don't have. But a lot of guys made some good plays here. You had Isaiah Hodgins with the touchdown catch. You had Darius Slayton making plays. You had Darren Waller taking some hits over the middle to make plays. A lot of guys factoring in. Dan Mazzina checking in. The great Mandini with a super chat. Giants fans, this is a good example of what you can do here on our YouTube chats. You can pay money to have a super chat. Your comment gets elevated to the top of the chat and into what my discussion points become. So Dan's question is, how creative is their O-line coach? They need work. Yeah, Dan, I think that Bobby Johnson did a good job in getting a young and inexperienced O-line with Marcus McKeithen and Josh Azudu ready for this game. But I think in general, they still need a lot of work. You saw some penalties from Evan Neal in critical spots. You saw a first half that was really a mess, including a sack in the second quarter to end the half when the Cardinals were only bringing a 3-man pass rush with Zaven Collins getting in, which was really discouraging. I think overall, encouraging that they were able to throw the ball downfield in the second half, because that means Daniel Jones had some time, definitely with Saquon buying some time on those play actions. But Dan, to your point, I think, the offensive line in general clearly needs work. And this is only one game against really, frankly, one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL. Not to take anything away from the Giants winning the game, but when you talk to people in the league, there's not a lot of respect for what the Cardinals have on the field right now. So definitely needs work. And Bobby Johnson's under pressure, just like Brian Dable's under pressure to get this fixed and turn it around. Giants Chronicles, what's up, Pat? Hey, Chronicles, what's up? Welcome back. Todd Lalima says Saquon did his part, also wish him well. That's true. Chronicles says he could have taken the many fair deals he was offered about Saquon. Yeah, frankly, I think he trusted some of the wrong people, and you can go back and look at my coverage, but definitely think that his agent change was related to regretting some decisions that were made along the way there. And Antonio says he said the MRI will tell the story and that his x-rays were negative. Well, the MRI will tell the story, so it's inaccurate to really say whether it's a sprain or what it is, right? That's what I'm saying about the reporting, is that that's a little bit loose, in my opinion, to say it's a sprain and it's not something else, or what grade. You don't know what grade it is. You don't know what exactly it is. So listen, if Saquon's ankle were broken, he wouldn't have been able to walk, right? If it were broken clean across, he wouldn't have been able to walk off the field like he did. Like, I've broken both my ankles, and there are different kinds of breaks, right? I broke my left ankle playing basketball clean across. I couldn't even put any weight on it. It hurt so badly when I did it. Then I broke my right ankle, which was kind of a smaller break and felt like a bad sprain. So, and it actually initially when I did it and got tests, no one could tell that I had a fracture. So this is what I mean about saying it's not broken, is that if initials x-rays are negative, that doesn't mean there isn't a fracture in the foot. Now, I'm not saying Saquon has a fracture, but just pushing back a little bit, Antonio, on kind of definitive word on what it is and what it isn't. That's all I mean. Doug says, was Ben Bredesen in the locker room? I didn't see him. He definitely has a concussion, though. The Giants diagnosed that pretty quickly. Disappointing to see there. Hope Ben gets better quickly. Mark Lewinsky, stepping in after getting benched after a horrendous week one and playing left guard, a position he does not play often. And also, they were using a silent count in this game. So Bredesen was the one tapping John Michael Schmitz to snap the ball. And then that became Mark Lewinsky's job as well, something he is not used to. What was your take on Danny leading the charge in the second half, says Hunter Keller. Hunter, my take on Daniel Jones leading the charge, and I actually talked to Daniel Jones almost one-on-one. It was me, Neil Best from Newsday, and one or two people from Arizona in Daniel's press conference. And Daniel said to me that he said that he actually missed opportunities and throws in the first half. Jones put a lot of what they did not do on offense on his shoulders. Dable actually alluded to a deep shot they could have had in the first half to Jalen Hyatt that Jones did not throw. He also underthrew a deep ball to Darius Slayton in the first half that was broken up by a Cardinals corner. So, I like Daniel Jones a lot. When he got paid the contract he got, I thought that he earned the chance to be the franchise quarterback based on what he did last season. I think obviously they have to put the right pieces around him and use his legs, which is a huge part of his game. He is not just stand in the pocket, drop back, and throw. And frankly, I think as much as the Giants encouragingly went downfield in the second half in this game, I don't think it's a guarantee that they're going to be able to buy that kind of time in pass protection against, NFL teams with real talent lining up across from them consistently. And remember, the Cardinals were missing their best player on their entire team, not just their defense in Budda Baker at safety. But all of that said, listen, I'll say this here, and Pat Shurmur said this before, and this is something that I think Daniel Jones, when he got drafted, so much focus on, of course, it was the turnovers early on in his career. It's the kind of game he plays. It's his ability to put the team on his back or not. But frankly, Daniel Jones has balls. Daniel Jones is a guy who, when his back is against the wall, when it's time to put your head down and take a hit, obviously sometimes he does it unwisely, but Daniel is tough. And this is why players love him and consider him a leader and think he's the real deal, is because he's a gamer and he doesn't back down, right? Daniel could play, there's guys where you say, hey, I have questions about his commitment or his ability to rise to the moment. Daniel Jones is not that guy. Daniel is a tough dude. And it's not me saying that because I cover the Giants quarterback and I'm trying to say nice things. I mean, he really is tough in every sense of the word, mentally, physically. He actually made a comment today where he kind of chuckled at the suggestion that he would emotionally react to being down 20-0, basically saying, what would emotions do for me? I thought that was interesting. And I thought that said a lot about kind of how he thinks as a competitor and as a gamer. That was really interesting to me. Giants Chronicles says Joe Schoen draft classes are starting to not look as good as they did. Yeah, well, this is why Giants fans have been looking for a lot of positive. And for good reason. It's been very bad around here for a while now in New York, New Jersey, East Rutherford. But the fact of the matter is you got to give it some time. And Wan'Dale Robinson, we don't know if he's a good NFL player yet, right? Jury's still out there. Josh Azudu, listen, he helped them win a game today at left tackle, but is he going to be a real NFL player? Is Marcus McKeithen, is Cordell Flott going to be a real NFL player, right? What about Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal? Kayvon Thibodeau has been invisible through 2 games. Invisible. No idea what's going on there. So absolutely. Yeah, the draft classes need to be better because especially of what Joe Schoen believes in and how the Giants want to build this, you got to build in the draft. That's Joe Schoen's own words. And he's right that you do have to build in the draft, especially when you're a team like the Giants that needs better top-end talent and also better depth, right? You need both. So I think absolutely jury's still out. But Jalen Hyatt was a big part of this win today. And the Giants did draft him when the rest of the league kind of basically was out on him in the draft. Chronicles also says, I think they need to start fade Jalen Hyatt into the wide receiver 1 looks like he can take on that role. Yeah, Hyatt was encouraging today. That's a pick you got to give Schoen and the Giants credit for. All right, let's get to more of your questions because they're rolling in. Thanks for joining us, guys. Remember, we do these once a week during the week and then another post-game live every week after the game. I'm on here today. Thanks for waiting, guys, because I had to file actually 3 stories to the Daily News. I had to sub my live game story on the main. I had to write a sidebar on Jalen Hyatt, and I also wrote a sidebar on Saquon Barkley and his injury. So, you got to get the news out there. And frankly, Hyatt deserved his own headline with how impactful he was on this game, in my opinion. But remember, Subscribe if you don't already to our YouTube page at PL on NFL. My podcast, Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, follow that, Apple, Spotify, wherever. Twitter's at P Leonard, NYDN. Give us some ratings and reviews. Hit the 5 stars where you can. Hit the like button on the YouTube page. On this chat, you can hit it right now. As Dan Mazzina showed you guys, you can do a super chat, throw some money into the pot, and get your question answered immediately and jump to the top of the rung. And we're going to continue adding more different types of content. Instagram, TikTok. You'll see my arrival videos with me and the players over on Instagram, TikTok, and here on YouTube, and some interviews with Hyatt, Daniel Jones, and Darren Waller. Some videos of those guys coming as well. So take a look at all that content after we're done here. And of course, obviously at the Daily News, you can read my main story and those sidebars on what went down here at State Farm Stadium. All right, let's get to some more. So Doug says, did anybody ask Dable about the 4th down decisions to punt in the first half, 2-point attempt down 8, or the PAT to tie? No, we actually didn't get into those discussions. I know they were about to go for 2 towards the end there when they were coming back, and then they had to kick. They decided to kick once Evan Neal committed that false start penalty. So I do know about that. Todd says, what do you think about the offensive line play, and how much more can we look forward to with this line? I think it was encouraging in the moment, but I think that most teams have better pass rushers than the Cardinals. So I think it's a good sign that they made halftime adjustments, bought time for throwing the ball downfield. But I think you have to move on from here and kind of just shake it off and go to something new, because frankly, you saw some bad penalties, and they're going to face better talent. The Niners are going to be a huge wake-up call, let me tell you. Let's see. Clayton Ryer says, Giants have Mojo when Hyatt is on the field. No doubt. He adds a different dynamic. Dom Doc says, can't change who you face. We won versus an NFL team after looking slow at the half. Yeah, and frankly, listen, the Giants were down 60-0 through their first 6 quarters of the season. There was nowhere to go but up. This tied a record for the Giants' best comeback ever in their franchise history, being down 21 when it was 28-7 after the Cardinals went for 2 after that Marquise Brown touchdown. Another crazy stat here that I have for you guys. So, 91 minutes and 17 seconds to score the first points of the Giants season, which is just crazy. So that record, the largest comeback in their history, down 21, they last did that in 1949. Also, this is the first time the Giants team did not score a point in the first 6 quarters of a season since 1934. In that year, they failed to score in their first 7 quarters of the season. But Dom, you're right. Listen, a win is a win. A win is a win. In the end, it doesn't matter. You played bad in the first half. You won the game. You're 1-1. Because let's just face it, we all know this season was over if they lost this game. This season was over if they lost this game. Brian Daboll needed them to fight. Brian Daboll needed them to show up. And in the first half, they made a ton of mistakes and looked again like they were not competing at their highest level, which is what you do not want to see from this team. It's what we saw in the Dallas Cowboys game, was essentially a team that wasn't ready to fight, which was not something that you just can't have that, right? So, no, Dom, your point is well taken. You can't take a win away from them, right? And, yeah, they played the Cardinals today. That's who they were supposed to beat, and they did. But, clearly this is not a Giants team that at the moment you can look at and say they're definitely going to compete with the good teams in the league. But that said, they showed resilience, they bounced back, and they fought when their season was on the line. Chronicles says, just seems like there's no pass rush at all, which is concerning given the assets we have put into it. Yeah, I don't know where Kayvon is. He's got to show up. Dexter Lawrence surprised me in not being more of a factor in this game on the interior. I thought the Cardinals targeted their runs away from some of the Giants' top guys up front, but the pass rush was horrendous. Not good enough. Antonio says the Hodgins touchdown was the same post play he scored against the Vikings in the wildcard game. Ooh, that sounds right to me. I didn't think of that in the moment. I'll go back and look, but I believe you, Antonio. Good eye. Clayton Ryer says Glowinski is much better at left guard than right guard and showed today. No, see, Clayton, this is what I mean about thinking. So, Dom, you said you can't take it away from them based on the opponent. But, Clayton, you can't judge how he played at right guard against the Dallas front versus how he played at left guard against the Cardinals front. Like the Dallas front might be one of the best in the league, and the Cardinals is arguably the worst in the league. Now, I do agree with you that Glowinski deserves credit stepping in, right, after being benched into a position that he doesn't play and helping the Giants win a game, right? Like he deserves credit for that. There's no doubt about it. Jake Patterson says, how do we expect Hyatt to be used in the future? Do you expect more targets be used as a wide receiver 2-3 more often? I definitely think that his speed element and downfield threat creates problems for defenses. So you have to have that on the field whenever you can. His ability to run different routes and the Giants' ability to kind of have a heavier install for him, that's a factor. Also the ability, right? Isaiah Hodgins as a run blocker, as a guy who can use his big body to make catches over the middle as you're moving the ball down the field. Darius Slayton also has kind of both abilities, right? The big play ability and the ability to kind of make those possession catches to move the sticks. So certainly with Paris Campbell in the mix as an option, there's a lot of bodies to kind of think about. But I think you saw in this game, guys, listen, you saw in this game, Dable identified at halftime, even during the first half, they felt, well, listen, we have opportunities to go downfield, and Jalen's the guy to do it. Let's try this more often, and let's keep him on the field. And I think you saw him as more of a factor in the second half. Even though he only had those 2 catches, they were basically the 2 biggest pass plays of the game. So I think the short answer is yes, he's going to be on the field more and continue to earn more playing time and more of a role as we go. And that's just part of being a rookie too, right? Earning that trust and earning that respect and earning the ability to have more on your plate, which is something Jalen needs to show he can handle from a mental perspective, from a route running perspective, and a workload perspective as well. Great signs from Jalen Hyatt, the rookie today. No question about it. Jake says, was Daboll calling the plays in the second half, or was it still Kafka? Jake, I asked Daboll that. I really thought it was Daboll based on just what I saw. I think you guys, some people might have seen on the broadcast, but watching here live, like he had his play sheet, was looking at it constantly when the offense was on the field, was holding it over his face as he was looking onto the field a lot. He looked like a guy calling plays from the sidelines. I was zooming in with my binoculars. It was hard to see how much he was talking, how much he wasn't. Like if he was really in Daniel Jones's ear. It did look to me like he was repeating some calls at times, could have been repeating them back to Mike Kafka or back to some other coaches to tell them what he wanted to see down the road. It could have been a situation where Daboll was making more consistent suggestions to Kafka, and then Kafka was kind of pulling from those. That's my feel. Daboll said he wasn't calling the plays. I definitely think, though, in my heart of hearts, I definitely think something increased as far as his involvement in that discussion really at halftime and throughout the second half is what it looked like to me. But Brian Daboll, this is what he said. He said that it didn't change, and he didn't change anything. So we'll see. Chronicle says Kayvon and Neal are 5 and 7 overall picks and haven't looked like it. Yep, you said it. Hunter says, would you expect them to add another running back from the practice squad for Thursday? Also, would you expect Thomas and Wandale to play? I think Wandale plays. I think the only reason he didn't play in this game was because of the quick turnaround to the next one coming off an ACL. That would just not be wise. Andrew does sound like he's optimistic about Thursday, but we'll see. I definitely got the feeling, talking to both him and Brian Daboll, that the quick turnaround from the 2 games was a factor in the decision for him not to play here. It was his health, but also the idea that they have a game in 4 days and trying to decipher, the best way to manage it given the schedule and how he feels as well. So I do think both of those guys play, asking me here right now. Elevate another running back from the practice squad. Maybe you look around the league, we'll see. Let's look at if Jashaun Corbin is still on the Carolina Panthers practice squad. You could always try and sign a player like him off the Carolina practice squad, right? You could do something like that as a guy who knows your offense, a guy who showed a lot in camp, a guy who should have made the team. And so that's something to think about. But, they do have Gary Brightwell. They have the rookie Eric Gray, both of those guys were active, as well as Matt Breida. So they kept them on the team ahead of a guy like Jashaun Corbin. So I look at that and I say, well, they're probably more likely to give opportunities to guys already in the building rather than go get somebody. But if I signed someone off the practice squad, so to speak, I mean, Tywan Jones is a running back who they've been elevating for special teams. So if they theoretically, he would not factor in on offense if he's not already. That would not make a lot of sense to me. So to me, it's probably the Gray, Brightwell, and Breda. But if you went somewhere right now for a running back quickly, maybe it would be Ja'Shawn Corbin trying to poach him off the Carolina practice squad. But remember, they tried to bring him back to the practice squad here, and Corbin opted instead to sign in Carolina. So we'll see if that would happen or not. That'll be something to follow, but keep that in the back of your head. Chronicle says, who filmed your arrival video this week? Adoree again? Actually, this week it was none other than Art Stapleton. Art and I were hanging out down there filming the arrivals, chatting up the players. Adoree did play along this time, but, I thought actually going in, I was thinking 0-1, 40-0 loss, probably less likely that a player like Adoree kind of participates in that way, right? Kind of maybe, even though it doesn't matter, show the focus, show the commitment to the game and all that. So didn't surprise me that he or someone else didn't kind of jump in and help. But no offense taken, all good. A lot of fun doing those. I hope you guys enjoy those too, because I have a lot of fun doing them. And Salaretta is keeping me fresh. You know what I mean? Salaretta is in Midland Park, New Jersey. Go check it out. If you guys have a wedding, if you guys need a tailored suit, listen, look good, feel good, play good, man. And Salaretta's, you go there, you get one custom tailored suit, man. You'll never wear anything else. Trust me. No jumps in and says, where is our pass rush? MIA. You ain't kidding. I think it was my colleague Jordan Rana pointed out to me, because I was saying, Kayvon Thibodeau had been invisible in the first half, and Jordan pointed out that literally in the box score, Kayvon did not have a pressure, QB hit, or sack or tackle in the first half. Nothing. Hard to believe. Hunter says, how do you think Trey Hawkins has looked in his first 2 games? Up and down. I mean, Jerome Henderson was pretty clear after the first game. There's a lot to work on. And listen, these guys are rookies, so you expect that. But also they're in big spots and they need to improve immediately, right? I did notice early on when the Giants went 2 corners against the heavier personnel the Cardinals started with, it was only Adoree Jackson and Deonte Banks. So Adoree playing the slot when the 3 of them are on there. But at the start, they only had 2 on there. Hawkins was off. Banks and Jackson were on. Hawkins did have good coverage on that one deep ball. He dropped the interception, so you'd like to see him hold on to that. Of course, it actually helped that he dropped it because they had better field position after the punt that went into the end zone rather than him catching it at like the 3-yard line. But you just like to see these guys make some good plays every week that they can build on, that they can look at on film. And yes, there's going to be stuff to correct, but as a coach too, you want to be able to say, look at the board and look at the video and show the players and say, now this is something you did well, Trey. So I think we saw some of that in this game. When will we see the huge game from Waller? Listen, 6 catches for 76 yards by Waller, nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I thought Waller was a huge part of this game. Also the fact that, frankly, he takes a lot of big hits. And, I thought he was tough in this game. All this concern about the hamstring, and I think legitimate concern. But I thought he played really well. I mean, you look at Waller. I'm actually looking at it as we talk right now. But I felt like a lot of his catches were big, like 3rd down catches. Okay, he had a 12-yard catch on 3rd and 10. Okay, he had 3-yard catch on 1st and 10. 9-yard catch 1st and 10. 25-yard catch on 1st and 10, 14-yard catch on 1st and 10, 13-yard catch on the 2nd and 11. Okay, so I stand corrected. 1 big 3rd down conversion, but a lot of his catches went for firsts. And I thought really when they needed a play, outside of the 2 Hyatt big plays, I thought when they needed a play, Waller was really a huge part of what they did in this game. Now, as far as when you say big game, are you wondering about like enormous fantasy points and 2 touchdowns? I mean, I just think that the Giants still need to prove that they can get in the end zone consistently throwing the ball. Daniel did have the 2 touchdown passes to Saquon and Isaiah Hodgins in this game. But I think for Waller to get in, you're going to have to see the Giants' pass protection and passing game really kind of open up and improve in the red zone. Al said, "Hey, Al, what's up?" Says, "Not sure how to feel about as a Giants fan. Do we just hope that the first 6 quarters of the season were a fluke? It was a great win, but we should have never needed to come back." Yeah, I think, listen, Dom said it earlier well, that you can't take it away from the Giants, that they beat the Cardinals and, it was who they were playing this day. But I think if you're being honest, and Brian Dable said this, he said, like, I'm proud of everybody, but we have a lot to work on. And I think that's a really good way of summing it up, because you can't take the win away and you're happy that you won. And frankly, the offense had 4 straight touchdown drives and 5 straight scoring drives, which no matter what offense you are, no matter what team you are, that's impressive, right? I mean, that's a lot of points, and that's a lot of consistent production. So good on them. But I think I'd be lying if I didn't say it's reason to be concerned that they were this bad for half a game against the Cardinals. They were this bad for 6 of their first 8 quarters of the season. And, you see some concerns about the defense not being able to tackle, and they're going to face a lot of teams that are a lot better than this. So I think there's plenty of reason to still be extremely concerned, especially when it comes to in their division and chances of competing this year. You need to show this second half they turned in. You're not going to be scoring every drive, but you need to be closer to the second half consistently than the other way. And so far, more of their season that they've played has been pathetic than has been explosive like it was in the second half. Are you staying in Phoenix like the team is all week? Yeah, I'm staying here, and then we'll head out to San Francisco on Wednesday. So perks of the job, but also we're grinding out here, trying to bring you the best content we can. Which I really appreciate you guys being on here. This live chat is cooking, and it should be after a Giant win. And thanks for bearing with me. When we do these talking ball chats and these live chats, the post-game chats, I obviously have to first file to the New York Daily News and do my reporting and writing for them. And so I initially set this to start at 8 o'clock, but then we pushed it to 9. I showed up a little bit after 9 p.m. Eastern because of the time change, but also because obviously I have those responsibilities first. So if I say the live chat's coming and I'm not on for a few minutes, just hang tight, because I'm just doing a lot of writing and some reporting out before I get here. So appreciate all you guys staying. And like I said, if you saw Dan Mazzina up there put in the super chat, you could pay a couple of bucks to have your chat kind of your comments risen to the top, jumped right to the top of the line, the front of the line for us to discuss. It's a way to support what we're doing here. We also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube page at PLO on NFL, same handle on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter at PLeonardNYDN, and all my work on the New York Daily News website. Really appreciate all your guys' support. Richard Roman says, let's say Andrew Thomas is back Thursday. What is the starting O-line looking like? That's a good question, Richard, because Izudu, theoretically, you would play him at guard because that's where he's played a lot. But also now here he plays left tackle here. So what do you do, right? Do you move him back to right guard, ask him to do that right away and immediately? Or do you put McKeith in there because that's where he started and played all of this game? I think maybe the answer is to keep McKeith in there because he just played a full game with Evan Neal and John Michael Schmitz on that right side. And then you have Izudu kind of ready to go if needed. But in the moment, Josh Izudu for now possibly is your swing tackle who also can play guard. Izudu had a lot of flexibility in college moving around in different positions, and that's part of why they drafted him. So it's also a possibility that if Andrew plays, Josh Izudu would just go in at right guard. But remember, Ben Bredesen also is hurt now. So what do you do? Is it Andrew Thomas left tackle, Josh Izudu left guard, John Michael Schmidt center, Marcus McKeith in right guard, Evan Neal tackle? To me, if Ben Bredesen is out with a concussion, that's probably what it looks like to me. In my first guess, that's probably what it looks like. Al says, figure the Giants will lose all 5 to Dallas, Philly, and San Fran, so they need to win 9 out of the other 12. Yeah, I hate to be, I don't want to be negative, but that's certainly how it looks like it's shaping up. Of course, the Giants do have top end or high end players who, aren't making much of an impact right now. So like if Kayvon Thibodeau starts showing up, then maybe the Giants look like a different team. Or if Dexter Lawrence starts having those dominant games, like he looked good against Dallas in a loss. He did not dominate this game. But, you have your top players, or you're paying to be your top players to play that way. If they start playing that way, maybe you look like a different team. But right now, the Giants haven't looked like that team. All right, if you have any other questions, please dump them in the chat now, because we're going to do a few more minutes here. And then I'm going to get out of here and crush some more content here on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. You can look for a lot more coming. I love doing these post-game chats, though, guys, because frankly, I just have so much going on in my head from all these conversations that you have in the locker room with Daboll. There's just so much to talk about. And so we download with it as reporters together, talking to each other. But it's also fun to bring it right to you guys, especially because you guys have perspectives on what you're seeing as you're watching at home, you're watching on TV, and you're consuming so much content around social media, and also just diehard fans who really care about this team. All right, let's see. Hot Chronicle says, where is the team practicing this week? I believe Arizona State, but I don't think they're actually practicing. I think they're just doing a walkthrough. So I don't think it's like a full practice because of the short week. We will be talking to Daboll Monday and Tuesday, and then we are also going to talk to players in person on Monday and Tuesday as well. So we have opportunities to do some interviews there. Hunter says, is your first live of the week going to be after the game on Thursday? Hunter, that's actually a good place or a good point. Probably I won't be doing I probably won't do like a Tuesday live chat. Probably we'll just hold off and do the next one right after the game on Thursday. That's a really good point, actually. I might end up doing a podcast instead. We'll see. But, I turn these into podcasts as well. So if anybody who's listening or who misses this, if you miss our live chats, I will publish it and post it as a podcast on the Talking Ball podcast for everybody to consume who didn't get to participate and who missed it and all that. So if for some reason you can't make it, you can always listen back and hear what we have to say and what we're talking about on these. But that's a good point, Hunter. I'll probably wait and just do my next one right after the game. Let's see. Same place as 21. 21. No, the Giants practiced at the University of Arizona when they were with Joe Judge in Tucson, so that was different. Al says, what was up with Wink's play calling this game? Giants were getting shredded by Dobbs in the first half. I think the Giants were kind of simple and vanilla, and were not necessarily bringing tons of pressure. I think they were trying to keep everything in front of them, and it didn't end up working. You saw when they started like zero blitzing Dobbs, he started rushing the ball, and when he started seeing a lot of pressure coming, suddenly the offensive line started jumping, and Dobbs looked a little skittish. So I thought maybe they did not show as much pressure early as he typically does, and certainly has to get back to that because that is absolutely his bread and butter. Only walkthroughs when you're playing a good team like the Niners. Don't know if I like that or not. No, the walkthrough would be, a lot of like install of plays. But frankly, on the short week, players just need to heal their bodies. Like think about it. They're getting back to their hotel tonight, right? They get back to their hotel. They have to, they go to sleep. They have an early night, whatever. Tomorrow is rest, recovery, a lot of training work, all that kind of stuff. No practice, a lot of meetings, that kind of thing, talking about the Niners install. Probably have a meeting where you do some walkthrough like Monday night, before dinner, after dinner, whatever it is. And then on Tuesday, you have like an official walkthrough. You get out to the field, you get moving around a little bit, but you can't be banging people's bodies around. You have a game on Thursday. So Wednesday ends up being your Saturday of a normal game week, and you're traveling. So it's just not conducive to having a full, real practice, right? Like you could have a more serious practice than a walkthrough, but you can't do that to these guys' bodies, right? Isaiah looked good from what I saw, made some good open field tackles. yeah, they put Simmons in a couple situations to guard some running backs out of the backfield, and he made a couple of nice tackles. I agree. And then he factored in on, I think, the tackle on the kickoff on the final drive, right before the Cardinals' final drive, and it looked like he got a good feeling out of that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here. Again, we are sponsored by Bet Online. We're also sponsored by Estate 98 Coffee. I drink it every time I do the Talking Ball podcast at home. You just pour a tablespoon in some glass in a drink or in a glass and stir it. Some ice and a tablespoon of Estate 98 and instant coffee. It's awesome. It's an Esencia de Cafe, actually, from El Salvador. It's delicious. Couldn't recommend it enough. I'm a huge coffee guy. And now instead of running out to Dunkin' Donuts for iced coffees, I just drink Estate 98. Not just saying that either. Stuff's amazing. And also, as you saw, we are with Sal Loretta's in Midland Park with the arrivals. Please give us some feedback on what you want to see more of as we do this. Really want to bring you guys the content you want, the information you want. Of course, the big things we're looking at going from here into Monday and Tuesday are, Saquon Barkley's health, and what that means for the Giants offense and the Giants team, and also just frankly where Andrew Thomas stands and how the Giants mentally are going to bounce back and kind of sustain this with their competition ramping back up. Chronicle says Pinnock looked good. I thought Jason Pinnock actually was getting picked on a little bit early in pass coverage with the tight ends, but Jason is extremely resilient. And I thought he bounced back very well and kind of stayed engaged. I think he led the team in tackles. Really good run blitzer and tackler in the backfield, and a tough guy, doesn't give up. So that's what you need from the Giants. You need guys who are going to stick their nose in, play tough, and not back down, even when things aren't going well. The Giants are going to need to be resilient because it's going to be a difficult year with a difficult schedule, and they're going to have to win a lot of tough games. If they do get wins, I think they're going to be close games, right? I think everything's going to be, so far, what it looks like is a lot of things are going to be difficult. But thanks again for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for participating, for your questions. Dan Mazzina, thank you for the super chat. Guys, we'd love to see some super chats in our next live chat. We will do post-game in San Francisco after the Giants play the 49ers. Hunter, thank you. Doug, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.